What happens when a rock legend's temper finally explodes on live television? What happens when years of bottled-up frustration hit a breaking point during what was supposed to be a routine promo interview? Tonight, we're revisiting one of the most shocking moments in entertainment television history. Met Lee crew drummer Tommy Lee turned an Entertainment Tonight taping into absolute chaos, leaving producers scrambling, security rushing the set, and millions of viewers stunned. But before we get into the meltdown, make sure you hit subscribe and drop a comment below because, trust me, after hearing this, you're going to have an opinion on what really pushed Tommy over the edge. It started like any other Tuesday night in the Entertainment Tonight studio. Tommy Lee had been booked to promote his new solo project and upcoming tour dates. A straightforward segment. A rock icon, some light banter, a little music talk. Producers thought they had it in the bag. Veteran host Rebecca Martinez was running point. She'd done this 1,000 times, always balancing warmth with just enough bite to keep things interesting. To her, this was just another celebrity sit-down. Tommy strutted in with trademark swagger leather jacket, shades indoors, that devil-maker grin. He settled into his chair, adjusted his mic, flashed the cameras, his rock star smirk. Everything seemed normal. "Tommy, great to have you here tonight," Rebecca began smoothly. "Yeah, thanks for having me," Tommy rasped back. "Always good to talk about what's going on." But the moment Rebecca glanced down at her notes, the entire tone shifted. Her next question lit the fuse. "Now I have to ask, your ex-wife made some comments in a recent magazine interview. She shared some pretty specific details about your relationship, especially your behavior during the marriage. How do you respond to those allegations?" The change in Tommy was instant. His shoulders tightened, jaw locked, eyes burning behind his shades. "Excuse me, hat kind of question, is that?" Rebecca, sensing tension but pressing forward like a pro, replied, "It's been making headlines, and fans are curious about your side of the story." She painted a pretty unflattering picture of life with you. Tommy leaned forward, voice rising. "Are you serious right now?" I came here to talk about music, about my tour, not to rehash garbage from years ago." Rebecca didn't back down. "But Tommy, you know public interest in celebrity relationships is part of the territory. Don't you think your fans deserve your perspective on these accusations?" That's when the simmering anger boiled over. Tommy ripped off his sunglasses and slammed them on the table. The crack of plastic echoed through the silent studio. "Legitimate questions," he barked. "You're asking me to dig through the worst part of my life for ratings? Every time I try to move forward, someone like you drags me back down. I've spent years working on myself, and you sit here throwing my past in my face." The audience gasped. Crew members froze. Even the camera operators looked around, unsure if they should keep rolling. Rebecca, still holding her composure, pushed once more. "But Tommy, your ex made these claims publicly. I'm giving you the chance to respond." That was it. Tommy shot up from his chair so violently it nearly toppled over. "You don't want my response, you want a headline. You want the angry rock star freakout. Congratulations, Rebecca, you just got it." He tore off his mic, wires dangling, and shouted, "This interview is over." Producers in the control room panicked. Security rushed the stage. Rebecca sat frozen in her chair, stunned as Tommy stormed off set, shouting at the cameras to stop filming. And here's the thing, they didn't stop. The meltdown aired. The clip went viral, and overnight it became one of the most infamous blow-ups in entertainment news history. So what do you think? Was Tommy Lee pushed to fore? Was this just another case of a rock star who couldn't handle the heat? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more stories that shook Hollywood. If talking about your past is exploitation, Rebecca countered, her tone steady. Then what do you call all the times you've shared intimate details in your own book and interviews? You've told your story when it suited your narrative. Why is it different now? Tommy's face flushed, his voice rising. Are you seriously comparing me telling my own truth to someone else spreading lies and half-truths about me? Are you really that clueless? I'm not calling anyone clueless, Tommy, Rebecca replied calmly, though the tension was thick. Enough to choke on. I'm pointing out the contradiction. You can't control the narrative when it benefits you and then cry foul when others share their perspective. Victim. Tommy barked the word like a curse, shoving himself up. From his chair, a sudden movement sent a screech of feedback through the microphone. Did you just accuse me of playing the victim? Lady, you have no idea what you're talking about. Rebecca stayed seated, her composure unshaken, even as Tommy towered over her. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm asking you to address the allegations. If they're false, say so. If context is missing, then give it. Context. Tommy began pacing like a caged animal, his agitation escalating with every step. The context is that I was a disaster back then. Addiction, fame, pressure you can't even imagine. I hurt people I cared about, and I've spent years making amends for that. So, Rebecca pressed, leaning forward slightly, you're admitting some of the allegations might hold weight? Tommy spun on his heel, eyes blazing. I'm admitting I was human. I made mistakes. I wasn't perfect. But I'm not going to sit here while you turn my lowest moments into entertainment for your audience. Tommy, Rebecca said evenly. We're not talking about mistakes. We're talking about allegations of emotional abuse of your ex-wife saying she felt unsafe. That's more than just bad decisions. Tommy's voice cracked between rage and something raw, almost wounded. You throw words like abuse around without understanding a damn thing. You think you can shrink years of a complicated relationship into sound bites for ratings. Rebecca's tone sharpened. When someone describes living in fear, walking on eggshells, feeling controlled, that's not just gossip. Those are patterns that deserve to be addressed. Patterns. Tommy let out a bitter laugh. You want patterns? How about the pattern of vultures like you, making money off other people's pain? The pattern of dragging up the worst years of my life every time I try to move forward. In the control booth, the director slashed a finger across his throat trap. It up. But Rebecca didn't flinch. She leaned in, doubling down. Tommy, running from these questions won't make them disappear. Your fans, your peers, they want to know how you answer them. My fans. Tommy stopped pacing, glaring at her in disbelief. You think they care about ancient drama? The people who buy my records, who show up screaming at my concerts, you think they're sitting around worried about some magazine interview? I think people care about character, Rebecca replied firmly. When someone they admire is accused of crossing serious lines, they want to know if that person has changed, if they've grown. Character. Tommy's voice thundered. Now you're questioning my character. After everything, after sobriety, after rebuilding my life, my relationships with my kids, you sit there and question my character because of mistakes I made in the darkest time of my life. Rebecca chose her words carefully, but she didn't retreat. I'm not questioning who you are now. Tommy, I'm asking you to respond to serious claims from someone who lived through it with you. That's journalism. No, Tommy shot back, jabbing a finger toward her. That's feeding on other people's scars. That's vultures circling. You can't create anything yourself, so you leech off pain. The air was suffocating now. Crew members froze, watching in stunned silence. The cameras captured every flicker of rage on Tommy's face. Rebecca didn't blink. I've been nothing but professional here. If you can't handle legitimate questions based on public statements, maybe you're not ready to be promoting this project. That line was gasoline on fire. Tommy's fists clenched, his whole body taut. Not ready. You think I'm not ready? I've stood on stage in front of millions. I've sold more records than you could count. I've survived things you couldn't last a day through. And you're gonna sit there and tell me I'm not ready? I'm saying, Rebecca replied coolly, if you can't face your past without exploding, maybe you haven't done as much work on yourself as you claim. The words hit like a slap. The studio went dead silent. Even the hum of the lights seemed to fade. Tommy's voice dropped, low and dangerous. A meltdown. You think this is a meltdown? You want to see a meltdown? Tommy growled, eyes locked on Rebecca. I'll show you what a real meltdown looks like. Rebecca, finally sensing she might have crossed a line, softened her tone. Tommy, that's not what I meant. I know. You've worked hard on yourself, your sobriety, your career. Don't. His voice sliced through hers, sharp as broken glass. Don't try to smooth it over now. You said what you said. You questioned my growth, my recovery, everything I've fought for. You turned years of therapy and rebuilding into nothing just because I won't play your gossip game. I'm not reducing anything, Tommy, she replied, forcing calm. Into her voice, I'm doing my job. Your job? Tommy barked a laugh, pacing like a predator across the set. The air was electric, thick, like the seconds before a thunderclap. Crew members froze in place. Everyone knew something was about to snap. Rebecca tried again, her voice tight but measured. Maybe we should pause. Take a break. Now you want a break? Tommy whirled on her, sarcasm dripping. After 10 minutes tearing apart my life, questioning my recovery, my character, you suddenly want to be the peacemaker. That's convenient. I wasn't attacking you, Rebecca said firmly. I was asking questions. That's what journalists do? Tommy's face twisted with fury. Stop calling yourself a journalist. His voice boomed, echoing off the studio walls. Journalists cover wars. They uncover corruption. You're a gossip peddler hiding behind a title and a TV set. Rebecca's composure cracked. Her voice rose in defiance. I've won awards for my reporting. I've interviewed presidents, exposed scandals. I don't need to prove my credentials to someone throwing a temper tantrum. Temper tantrum. Tommy's face went purple. His chest heaved. You think standing up for myself is childish? You think refusing to be humiliated on camera is a tantrum? Rebecca met his glare head-on. I think your inability to handle legitimate questions shows the exact volatility your ex-wife described. The words landed like a hammer. Silence fell, the studio holding its breath. Tommy froze, staring at her as if the floor had dropped out beneath him. She'd used his very outburst as proof against him, a surgical strike. When he spoke again, his voice was terrifyingly calm. So that's the game. Push me. Provoke me. Then point and say, see, Hayes, exactly what they said he was. That's your idea of journalism. Rebecca faltered for the first time. That's not what I'm doing, Tommy. I'm saying, your behavior right now is concerning. Concerning to who? Tommy took a slow, deliberate step toward her, his presence suffocating. To you, to your viewers. Or to the story you already wrote in your head before I walked in here. In the control booth, the director slashed his hand across his throat. Tend it. But the cameras kept rolling. I came here, Rebecca said. Voice firm again, with relevant questions about current events. That's what professionals do. Current events. Tommy spat the words. A bitter ex cashing in with a magazine interview is a current event. That's what you call journalism. Now? When the allegations involve abuse, when they involve dangerous behavior, yes, it's public interest. Tommy slammed his palm down on the table between them, the sound cracking through the studio like a gunshot. Rebecca flinched. "There's that word again," he snarled. "Abuse. You love it. It sells. It hooks viewers. It makes your ratings climb." "I use it," Rebecca shot back, her own temper flaring, "because that's what your ex-wife alleged." "I'm not inventing this, Tommy. I'm asking you to respond. Respond." Tommy's voice roared now, by giving her lies more airtime, by letting you repeat them until they sound like truth. "You get to wash your hands while you burn me alive." Rebecca leaned forward, refusing to break eye contact. "I have every right to ask. If you didn't want these questions, you shouldn't have agreed to be here." Tommy's fury detonated. "Agreed to be here? I was told this was about my music, my tour, my work. Nobody said I'd be dragged through a public trial on live TV." "Things change in interviews," Rebecca said, her voice almost trembling, but holding steady. "Follow-ups happen. That's how journalism works." Tommy's laugh was venomous. "No, that's how ambush journalism works. That's how tabloid journalism works. That's how destroy people for ratings journalism works." The clash had dragged on for nearly 20 minutes, an eternity for live television, and the tension only grew sharper with every exchange. Neither Tommy nor Rebecca seemed willing to yield. If anything, they were locked in a feedback loop, each feeding off the other's defiance. Rebecca shifted tactics, her tone sharper, colder. "Rebecca, Tommy, your fans are watching this. What message do you think you're sending them right now? What example are you setting?" Tommy froze, mid-step, staring at her like she'd just spat in his face. "Tommy, my fans. You want to drag them into this?" "My fans know me. They've stuck by me through decades of highs and lows. They don't need you to protect them from me." "Rebecca, don't you think they deserve the truth about these allegations?" Tommy's voice cracked, raw with emotion. "Tommy, the truth. The truth is, I was a mess 20 years ago. I hurt people I loved. I drowned myself in addiction, in fame, in pressure I didn't know how to handle. That's the truth. And the truth is, I've spent years rebuilding therapy, sobriety, making amends, one step at a time." For a fleeting moment, the air shifted. Tommy had lowered his guard, almost inviting real conversation. But Rebecca pressed harder, her voice slicing through his vulnerability. "Rebecca, if that's true, then why are you so angry about being asked to discuss it?" The words landed like a slap. Tommy's eyes darkened. His reply was no longer loud, but cold, deadly cold. "Tommy, because it's none of your damn business. My recovery belongs to me and the people I hurt, not your audience. You're not looking for healing. Rebecca, you're hunting for drama. Rebecca, I'm giving you the chance to address serious allegations. That's journalism." Tommy stepped closer, his presence looming, his voice low and dangerous. "Tommy, no. Real journalism would have told me what this interview was really about. This is a setup." The studio was a powder keg. Crew members exchanged anxious glances, the director waving frantically for Rebecca to cut it off. But she couldn't resist one more push. "Rebecca, Tommy, viewers can see for themselves how you're reacting. This kind of aggression is exactly what people are worried about." That broke him. Tommy, whispering, lethal, aggressive. "You've been tearing me apart for 20 minutes, and you call me aggressive for refusing to sit here and take it?" Rebecca's jaw tightened. She went for the kill. "Rebecca, if you can't handle being asked about your past, maybe you're not as recovered as you claim. Maybe your ex-wife was right about who you really are." The silence that followed was suffocating. Tommy's face cycled through disbelief, pain, fury before settling into something far colder. Tommy, quiet, chilling. "Get away from me," Rebecca blinked. Tommy louder, trembling with rage. "I said, get away from me." Take your cameras, your questions, your pathetic excuse for journalism. Get the hell away from me. He ripped off his microphone, the feedback screeching through the speakers as he hurled it to the floor. Rebecca nervous, grasping. Tommy Weir, live. Millions of people are watching. Tommy snapping. Good. Let them watch. Let them. See what happens when a man refuses to be destroyed for your entertainment. Security spilled onto the stage, the crew scrambling in panic. The lead guard approached carefully. Guard, sir, you need to come with us. The interview is over. Tommy scanned the room, the stunned faces, the rolling cameras, and his voice dropped back into that eerie calm. Tommy, you're right. Interview is over. But let's get one thing straight. I didn't come here to cause trouble. I came to talk about my music, my projects, my art. And I was turned into the villain because that made for better TV. As security guided him toward the exit, he turned back one final time, locking eyes with Rebecca. Tommy, I hope it was worth it. I hope the rating spike is worth the last shred of your integrity. He walked off, leaving behind a studio in stunned silence. Rebecca, visibly shaken, turned to the camera. Rebecca, barely steady. We'll be right back. After these messages, but the damage was irreversible. What should have been a simple promotional interview had imploded into one of the most explosive confrontations in television history.